Chapter 9. The Funeral. And that's exactly what Samy had told Samy. The following Saturday had come. Samy was fully dressed in a white shirt, a green tie, and black pants. Samy was wearing a dress that looked like flowers had bloomed, and a swarm of bees was flying around them. Baby Lucy was wearing a blue baby dress with a little turquoise baby shawl to keep her warm. Samy and Seny were standing by a polished brown coffin that was completely closed, where Samy was told that Jimmy Kind was resting peacefully. It was so tall that Samy couldn't tell from below if his dad was really there. Lucy was being held by one of the relatives who had come to attend. There was a line of people all dressed in their Sunday attire, waiting to pay their respects to Samy and Seny. Samy was trying hard to smile in front of everyone, but it was so hard for him. He was still hoping that it wasn't true, but seeing all these people here, he was starting to wonder if maybe what his mom said really was true. Seny was doing all the talking to the people that walked up to them, while Samy tried to paste on a smile. But his mom's tears and the strange situation started to get to him. There came a tall and big man. He squatted down to Samy and smiled at him. He had very long black hair straight down and was wearing an ancient arrow necklace. He said to Samy in a very low voice, "I knew your father, Samy. He was a very kind man, and he was always showing it to me whenever he was at work." "Who are you?" asked Samy shyly. "Richard," said the man. "I worked with your dad. He was a good man. I'm sorry for your loss, but it's all going to be okay." "That's what grown-ups always say," Samy mumbled. The man let out a little chuckle. He turned to Seny. "You have a very bright son, Seny," he said, "just like his dad." "Thank you, Richard," said Seny with a sad smile. A few minutes later, Samy recognized some familiar faces. He saw Flicker with his parents. He had a sad look on his face, too. "Hi, Flick," said Samy flatly. "Hey, man," said Flicker. "Nice tie." "Thanks, I guess," said Samy with a shrug. "I like yours, too." "Thanks," said Flicker. "Your dad was great." "Don't you mean he is great?" Samy asked, feeling annoyed. "Okay," said Flicker, with a shrug as he walked by. The next kid he saw was Spike. "Hey, Spike," said Samy. Spike just walked by without a single word. "Spike," asked Samy, "what do you think of my tie?" Spike turned around and looked straight at Samy. "What should I think?" muttered Spike. Samy was shocked. He thought he had been the only person feeling angry at the moment. "Why do you say that?" asked Samy. "I don't know," said Spike, as he walked away with his parents. "Just let me be." "Mom," whispered Samy, "do Spike's parents talk to you like that?" "Sometimes," said Seny, "but it doesn't matter right now." Next came Parker with his parents. "Hi, Samy," said Parker. "I like your tie. Green is my favorite color." "Thanks, Parker," said Samy with a little sigh. "It's my dad's favorite color, too." "Sorry for your loss, man," said Parker, as he walked on by. There came Ashley with her mom. "Hi, said Ashley with a sad voice. "Oh, hi, Ashley," said Samy, feeling uncomfortable. "Your daddy was really nice," said Ashley. "He was like my own daddy, I think." "What was your dad like?" asked Samy. "I don't remember," said Ashley with a shrug. "I never met him." Sammy's eyes popped wide open. You never met your dad? How can that be?
I don't know,
Said Ashley.
it's a long story. Anyway, I know how you feel. Sorry for your loss.
She slowly walked away with her mom. Sammy turned to Samy. Mom, did she lose her dad too?
I don't know if she did,
Said Samy with a shrug.
but I do know you're not the only child. Everybody has issues in their lives.
Are you sure about that? Asked Sammy doubtfully.
Have I ever steered you wrong before?
Asked Sammy. Yeah, said Sammy. I don't really believe Dad's gone.
Well, I'm afraid you'll have to believe it,
said Sammy sadly. Lenny walked by with her grandparents.
Hi, Sammy,
said Lenny.
Are you okay?
I don't know, said Sammy. I'm just confused.
About what?
She asked brightly. About things, said Sammy.
Like what?
Asked Lenny. He thought for a few seconds. Oh, I forgot, said Sammy. Lots of things.
That's okay,
said Lenny.
I even get confused about things too, like what happened to my mom and
dad. Did you lose them too? Asked Sammy.
I don't know,
said Lenny with a shrug.
Maybe.
Oh, said Sammy.
Well, it's good to see you, Sammy,
said Lenny, as she started walking. Yeah, said Sammy. Good to see you too. With somber faces, Stephanie and Priscilla arrived along with their moms and dads. Sammy was surprised that all of his friends wanted to come to the saddest place in the world, but he was glad that he wasn't alone. After a few more people passed by, everyone sat down in long rows of chairs to hear the preacher talk for a long time. Sammy looked around and saw that some of his friends dozed off during the talk. He even saw Spike drooling on his tie. Sammy nudged his mother.
Mom,
he asked,
is it okay for kids to be napping here?
Shh, said Sammy.
We should be listening to what Mr. Dietz is saying about Dad.
Sammy shrugged his shoulders and faced forward. In conclusion, I want to say a few last things. Jimmy Kind was more than a kind man to all of us, said the preacher. He was also a good friend. He has been an inspiration for me and for you. May we always remember him in our lives and in our hearts. Rest in peace, Jimmy Kind. Amen.
Amen,
everyone whispered. May we have all the pallbearers come forward, the preacher asked. Sammy saw Richard and 5 other tall men in black walking up to the coffin. He looked at his mother. She nodded. Sammy stood up and walked with some other kids who were following the tall men. Sammy saw the men hoisting the casket into the hearse. Then they closed the back doors and the driver climbed in.
Come on, Sammy, said Samy. It's time to head over to the cemetery.
On the short drive, Sammy saw tears rolling down his mother's cheeks. When they got to the cemetery, they got out of the car and walked over to where everyone was gathering. Sammy was nervous, yet curious. There was a canopy standing out in the distance where it was easy to see from where he, his mother, and his baby sister were.
Do we go over there?
asked Sammy.
Yes, said Samy softly. But please try to be quiet. Even though we're outside, we have to use inside voices.
Why? asked Sammy curiously.
Shh, whispered Samy. It's a very special place for people who have passed on.
Sammy was a little confused about what that meant. With baby Lucy wrapped in another heavy blanket in Sammy's arms, she and Sammy started walking towards the canopy. When they got to it, There were rows of chairs facing one direction to a spot where there was oddly flat-looking grass.
That grass looks fake, whispered Sammy, and the rest of the grass is covered with snow.
Shh, said Samy.
It's not really grass. Then what is it? Asked Sammy.
Shh, said Samy.
We can talk about it later. Right now, let's go sit down.
They walked towards the front of the chairs facing the fake grass and sat down in two of them. The preacher stood very quietly in front of the people while he watched the other men carry the casket out of the hearse. After the casket had been placed on the green spot, the men backed away and went to stand by their families. "All right, friends and family," said the preacher. Samy tugged on his mother's coat.
Is he going to talk again?
He asked with quiet annoyance. A few people nearby snickered. "Shh," whispered Samy. "Friends and family," the preacher said again, "we are here to rest our friend and associate Jimmy Kind. Since it's cold out here, we'll ask you to keep your comments brief before we have our final word of prayer. Does anybody have something to say?" For less than a minute, the chilly wind of winter was blowing softly around everyone. Samy was shivering with his arms wrapped around himself.
Mom,
he whispered with a quiver.
I'm cold.
Shh, whispered Samy. "Do you have something to say, Samy?" the preacher asked, looking at her. She carefully gave baby Lucy to Samy and stood up.
As a matter of fact, I do, said Samy softly. Jimmy was more than a kind man. He was a wonderful husband and father to me and my children. He took care of us, but most importantly, he loved us all. Thank you all for coming to bring comfort, love, and support for me and my children.
She turned to her son.
Samy, do you have something to say?
Samy sat still on the chair with baby Lucy on his lap.
I don't have anything to say,
Samy shivered.
Other than thank you, I guess.
Thank you is perfect, Samy, the preacher said kindly. He turned back to the crowd. All the pallbearers may now step forward to pay their last respects. One by one, the men who had carried the casket from the hearse walked back up to the casket and unpinned their flowers from the collars of their suits, and each placed them on top. And the honorary pallbearers may now also step forward to do the same, the preacher asked.
Here, give me your sister,
whispered Samy, holding her hands to Samy. Samy carefully gave baby Lucy back to his mother. Go on, she said. He dragged his feet for a few seconds, but he finally straightened them and stood up. Along with the other kids, Samy went up to the casket and carefully placed his flower on top. He smoothed his hand right along the edge of the casket. His lips were quivering, but it was hard to tell if he was trying not to cry or he was shivering from the cold air.
So long, Dad,
he stammered. He walked up to his mom.
Can we go home now? I'm freezing. It's almost over, Samy,
said Samy. All the main family members sat back down in the chairs. All right, friends and family, said the preacher. We shall now dedicate the grave. Willis Kind, Jimmy's father, will do the honors. Samy saw his grandfather heading up to the preacher. Samy bowed his head and listened to his grandfather's voice. It was a bit comforting, but then his eyes started to burn. After everyone had said amen, some people started walking the other way back to the parking lot. Samy looked at his mother.
Now can we go home? Yes,
said Senny. They quickly trudged through the snow and back to their car. They didn't say much else while they were on the ride home.
I just don't know why my own father had to die during winter,
Thought Sammy, coldly shivering.
I just don't know why he had to die at all. I'm so confused right now. I don't know what's gonna happen next after this. I feel like my life is over. If I have lost my dad, I've lost everything.